Tate's going to have surgery and Carson's dealing with an AC joint sprain. Can you just confirm both of those?
Yeah, I don't know where all that's coming from. We got like 7 AC joint sprains, so that's not like a significant or major injury. Carson's fine. He's practiced both days. Tate does have an ankle. He's had tightrope already, and he's in the rehab process already. We checked it tonight in the game and had to get it fixed, and he's getting it fixed already. So he'll be back as soon as he can. Expect a healthy and full recovery.
Coach, Tyrone Dawkins is a guy who's been getting on the field a lot lately and making a lot of plays. What stood out to you about him?
His work ethic. He's done a great job. He talked to the team today about where he was in terms of his mental space when he was a young player, and obviously thought he should be playing more. And it's funny because he's matured so much from the time he was like, I should be starting, I should be playing, to realizing that he wasn't ready and that he needed to get better. And unfortunately, he didn't get to play a lot last year because of injury, but he has been able to play a lot this year, and he's done a really good job.
Yeah, Coach, it seemed like Kentucky had a really good plan for you guys defensively. I'm curious, how often, if ever, do you get on the phone or you guys get on the phone and call that staff and say, hey, what did you guys see and how did y'all prepare? How did y'all execute this plan?
Doesn't work real good when you play him the next year.
Coach, Governor Kemp put some executive orders into action today, and I'm sure you're familiar with the situation. Just your thoughts on and reaction to it.
Appreciative. Want to be competitive as we can be in our field of endeavor. This world we live in, and it's not just us. Apparently, it's the whole state of Georgia, USG, and very appreciative of Governor Kemp and his staff for allowing us to be competitive and putting us on a level playing field and to continue to support our student athletes. This is going to benefit the student athletes, and very appreciative of them supporting that and getting it done.
Kirby over here. In light of Daniel Harris's situation this week, have you addressed the team at all about reckless driving? And I get that these are young guys, but there's clearly team consequences. There's fines from the collectives. Why is this continuing to happen?
Because we continue to have guys make poor decisions, and it's very unfortunate. And I know that our staff, myself, continue to drive home the sensitive nature of it. It's certainly a deadly speed when you talk about the speed that he's traveling at. And you want kids to grow up. You want to treat them like their own kids. You want them to grow up and make good decisions and learn from others' mistakes. And we have guys share, and yeah, we obviously continue to talk to them, but it hasn't stopped them. So we've got to find a way to do it.
Yeah, how are Mike Howell, Warren Brinson, and Jordan Hall doing as you try to get those guys back on the defensive line?
They're all working to come back. They're all doing the rehab process. Warren's really close. Warren's out there doing stuff now. Mike Hill's running. Jordan's running. So we're hoping to get those guys back.
Coach, you spoke briefly after the game about the need to start faster on offense. So between now and the Alabama game, what kind of steps can you, the coaching staff, take to facilitate that just a little bit?
There's so many steps. There's tons of them. Clean up what you do it at a higher rate, make good decisions, communicate better. It's hard to say one thing on that because there's a lot of things not a lot of things go wrong, but one thing going wrong can mess up a play. And it takes one person messing up on offense. If one person messes up consecutively, you got 3 bad plays. And certainly we just got to execute better, I think, and do a good job with guys, doing what they do in practice. If we do what we do in practice and do it against good people, which they get a chance to do it against real good people in practice, they'll do it better. So I don't know if we can point to one thing on that.
Kirby, what did you see of the offensive line once Tate went out on Saturday?
We play Micah a lot, right? So we have 3 guards that play. That's why we do that, because there's a chance of injury, and we play 3 guys. So I didn't see a lot different from him going out. Micah stepped in and played. Micah probably had to play more than he typically does, and he and Dylan did a good job.
What does that do for this team having the first road test of the season under their belt already?
I don't know. it's better than not having it under your belt, you know. I certainly would like to have played better, really the entire special teams, offense, defense, so that you gain more confidence from playing on the road. But hey, you know, I'm glad we got a road game under our belt because it's tough in the SEC to go on the road. I think I've repeatedly said that, and I believe that. It's hard anytime you go play, especially when you got a team coming off of a tough loss. So I'm glad we got that done. But how much confidence it shows is basically based on what you do this week and how well you prepare.
Coach, when Carson comes up to the line of scrimmage, how much autonomy does he have to, like, you know, check, run, pass, left, right? Does he have all
He has
the
to make
autonomy he
decisions.
wants?
He has to make decisions, but he doesn't have to make. It's really complicated too. I mean, I'd be sitting here for an hour talking about football. There's plays that versus certain looks he has to check. So the play comes in as a run, he has to check to a pass. The play comes in as a pass, he has to check to a run. But then there's some plays that are checked run to run. There's some plays that are checked protection. So they're a pass and he changes the protection based on it. There's some plays that are a run that he has to decide which way the run goes and whether he throws the ball on the run to the RPO. So if you're asking about checking plays, yeah, he has the ability to check some plays and some plays he doesn't. Some he has to do based on what the defense is doing. But it's complicated.
It seemed like a lot of crowded boxes, I guess, is why, and maybe that's because Deion Walker's in the middle of it and taking
Well, he's
up
only
a lot
one
of
body.
time.
He's just a huge body.
Yeah. So, but I mean, does he do pretty good at that overall when you come to
Carson
grading?
does a great job of understanding that and knowing what to do and getting hats on people. And you know, that's why the run game is so critical. The best friend you have on the road in those environments is the run game. When you don't run the ball well, you better be dang good at something.
Coach, look here. You had said after the game on Saturday that the approach was going to be about improvement this week, not so much rest and recovery. I'm just curious, how much over time has your approach to the bye week evolved since you started?
No, it's always about improvement. I mean, you know, we're better than ever rest. Like, we're trying to get better all the time. So I've never had a bye week that I've ever had in all my years coaching that it wasn't about improvement. It's about detailing that improvement and how are you going to attack it. Are you going to do the same thing you've done every year? Well, you may not have the same team. You may not have the same special teams. You may have different needs one year to the next. And, you know, we kind of cater our off week to what we need. And that's not all based on Kentucky. That's based on Tennessee Tech. That's based on Clemson. That's based on injuries. It's based on improvement. And we change the schedules each bye week to fit, to suit what we need.
Yeah, what have you been able to see out of Trevor so far and what he's been able to bring to this offense?
Toughness, great leadership, competitor. Trevor's one of the best, you know, guy. I can't imagine what kind of leader he would be if he'd been in the program the whole time, because he's not afraid to speak out and talk and speak up, and I respect that about him because he doesn't, you know, he hasn't had even a full year with these guys, but he's not afraid to speak up, and he's a tremendous leader in toughness. So that's what I've seen out of him, and I think he's getting into playing shape. I think it hurt him some. You know, not playing in that first game, then he played a lot in the second game, then he played a lot in the third game, and I've challenged him, you know, conditioning wise going into that game. That I thought he might get more action than he had, and he did, and he took advantage of it.
Coach, a question about the O-line. You know, at a time when a lot of NFL teams are moving towards kind of more nimble, slightly smaller humans on the front five, it seems like you have been recruiting a lot of guys that are, to put it lightly, quite heavy. You know, what do you see in them, and why are you kind of swinging the other way when a lot of the pro game and the rest of football is kind of going the opposite direction?
I don't know that I would agree with your assessment, because we don't necessarily go after heavy. We go after size. Size means a lot of things, right? So Maurice Mims is our heaviest guy, but he's lowest body fat, and they seem to really like him. So he was 350 pounds and 16-17% body fat, which I think's the model offensive lineman. I want all offensive linemen to be nimble, but if they're nimble and they get knocked back, then they're not as effective. And I'll be honest with you, the pro game is a little different than our game right now. They also have more starting quarterbacks out in the last 2 years than ever. So with that said, I don't know that they can find the right protectors to protect the quarterback.
Kirby, you were adamant about developing depth and developing some of those younger players during the fall camp. How do you think that has affected the chemistry of this offensive unit early on in the season?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Explain your question again.
Well, you talked during fall camp about developing.
Y'all ran with that and said that we didn't care about chemistry. No, when you try to gain depth, you practice a lot of people, not necessarily with the ones. You practice a lot of people. We do ones, twos, and threes. Well, when the ones go, the ones go. When the twos go, the twos go. When the threes go, the threes go. We got a group of 3 offensive linemen that are 5 guys that are all true freshmen. They need lots of practice because guess what they're going to be next year? Twos. So they need lots of reps. They got to get lots of reps because they're going to be our twos, and we've never had that before. We've always had this thing where it was like threefold. It was like the guys, and then it was like the Dylan Fairchilds and the Micahs and the guys coming up, and then it was like the freshmen. Well, now we don't have that. So when I talk about chemistry and getting things going, 100%. Now, we didn't have a complete receiving core in camp. Humphrey's missed a little bit. Kobe Young missed a little bit because he had this injury, that injury. You know, we had Trevor miss a little time there. We had somebody else, I forget who it was, miss a little bit. So that hurts a little bit, but that has nothing to do with the other. I mean, you want to attribute it to something? Attribute it to what I think is 2 pretty dang good defenses, and us not being at our best against Kentucky, and we got to improve that. But it's nothing to do with the preseason camp. I can assure you of that.
Kirby, on that, I know you mentioned level playing field. Just curious the need. Like, have you lost recruits, guys out of the portal because of the existing rules?
I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that. I mean, it's all about what you have available, right? And some people are willing to spend beyond their ability to raise it, like unfulfilled promises. Like, we're not going to have unfulfilled promises where guys reach back out and say, well, they said they could do this and they didn't. They said they could do that and they didn't. So we've lost some in those regards, but I don't know that it was an inability to do it. It was not going to go step over our skis and like put our body over and put too much out there and say, okay, we've committed to this and you can't do it. So it's a hard world out there because you don't really know what you can and can't do. People make promises and there's nobody has a bounty sitting out there that big that they can pay everybody that. And so, you know, you try to be judgmental, you try to make good decisions on players. You want people in your program that really not making it about just that. Because when it's just about that, you'll never stop. And that's not going to change based on what the governor does. With the governor's thing, it's not like it's going to be this open surplus. It's just helping us, you know, be competitive with others. And, you know, I'm sure Georgia Tech feels the same way. You know, you're out there competing in a really competitive environment, and there's times you feel like you want to do something and you can't. And now, hopefully, we've got the capabilities to do what we need to do.
Kirby, you said after the game, we can wake these guys up and go get better. In what ways offensively do you need to get better and get into a better rhythm, I guess? Communication
would be one. When you look back at the game, there were some major communication errors there, talking about across the front and communicating who we're working to, points and things like that, which some of that has to do with being on the road and crowd noise and everybody being on the same page. Protecting the quarterback on some pressures that are really easy pickups. You look, our offensive line, when you look across the country in 3 years, it's hard to find teams that have cut one loose, like didn't block somebody. That's just, knock on wood, that's rare for us because we have a very experienced offensive line and they see every pressure known to man from us. So that's something that we do usually well, pick those things up. And they really did that well in the game. There was a couple times we didn't, and we got to do a better job of that. And we got to be able to hit some open guys when they're open, and we got to be able to do some things in the RPO game that help us. And there's some things we missed in that. And at the end of the day, when you lose momentum in those kind of games, you got to grind them out and find a way. You know, and we did not have momentum in that game, and it made it more difficult. But when you watch that tape, there are very things you can point at and say, if we just do this, we're going to be this much better.
Got time for one more question?
Yeah, Coach, I know Tate was obviously rotating in at center some to provide some depth there. You have Drew Bobo available as well, but now with Tate out, what has happened to the rotation at center if Jared were to sustain?
Well, Drew's there, and you want to have three centers at all time. Malachi Tolliver's done a great job, the young kid. We made him into a center when we first got here, so he's gotten to the point that he's serviceable. He can go in, compete. He's still a true freshman. We've got a couple other guys out there the last 2 days snapping, so that we've got some help there. We always want to have three. You got to have three, and we want to have three ready. We got two that we really feel solid about, and then we'll have a third one here in the next couple of days based on what we're doing.